Multi-sector leadership is the degree to which leaders in organizations operate outside their own sector. So corporate leaders are active in nonprofit and public life, or public officials serve on nonprofit boards, or advisors or sit on corporate boards. It's that kind of activity that really we believe is the future of leadership. This is the first research study of its kind. We're the first business school looking at this issue. It's seeking to find what made leaders work across these sectors. Is it beneficial to their careers? Is it beneficial to their organizations? Why did they do it? What skills and knowledge did they need to be effective in one sector versus another? And ultimately, our question for the business school is, what then do we need to be teaching? What skills and knowledge do we need to be developing in our business students so they can be effective multi-sector leaders in the future? 2 years ago, we did a study, our students actually did a study of the MBA students, and found that 65% seriously wanted to make a difference in social impact. How they did that varied, but they really wanted to do something meaningful in the world. So they come in often with either an issue they care about, the environment, education, or they come in wanting to develop into a leader that really can contribute some social good. This research shows them some of the models of how to do it, and will teach them some of the skills that are translatable. Because right now, students don't necessarily know if they sit as a board fellow on a nonprofit organization, what are they learning there that's going to help them in their corporate role. So we've identified 2,000 current leaders. Fortune 200 companies, top tier of that, 1,500 corporate leaders. 300 public sector leaders, a random sample of cabinet members, senators, congresspeople, governors, and mayors. And then in the nonprofit leaders, 200, half of them nonprofit leaders of the largest nonprofits in the country, and half of them leaders of the largest philanthropies or foundations in the country. From those 2,000, we're going to identify different profiles of the ways people engage. So they and other real leaders have said, we've never been asked about this behavior before. We've never really thought about it as multi-sector. We do it for different reasons, and that's exactly what we have to find out. Corporate executives deal with strategy. They deal with partnerships and relationships with others. They deal with talent development. They deal with the functional areas, whether it's overseeing marketing or finance. All of those are translatable to the kinds of issues that the public sector and nonprofit sector are looking at, whether it's affordable housing or economic development or finding jobs. Those skills from the corporate sector translate well to solving large-scale issues that publics and nonprofits are looking at. Barbara DeSour, who is a Haas alum, has a senior level executive position in a corporation. Her headquarters are in North Carolina. She simultaneously sits on commissions and on, I believe it's 3 or 4 nonprofit boards in North Carolina. So she's really a community leader that works across these different sectors. So she's one example of the kind of ways in which multi-sector leaders engage. The hope is that the research will not only identify people engaging in this behavior, but we will interview people to understand how and why, the benefits and the costs, and how it's best done, and roll that information, that research, those interviews into a course offered at Haas that will begin to develop the capacity of our students to operate across these sectors rather than learning it as most current leaders do by trial and error. Nonprofits can benefit in a couple of ways. One way is they can have these multi-sector leaders on their boards of directors so that they have a broader view of how what they're doing fits into this economic world across sectors. They can also benefit from having executive directors or presidents that have had experience in another sector, because in particular nonprofit organizations engage in a lot of partnerships, corporate nonprofit partnerships, nonprofit public partnerships, and to have a leader who really knows how to engage and understands those different worlds really raises the effectiveness of the nonprofit organization. It makes sense to me that Haas would be the first business school doing this, because our students really do push us, and we are interested in creating leaders who are, students always, who look beyond themselves, confidence without attitude, who really would develop those kinds of values as multi-sector leaders. It's not enough to just work for one corporation or public entity or nonprofit. You've got to be able to form partnerships, and I think that's what's going to pull them to start to work with others, maybe at a lower mid-level, and as they become senior, they're going to have more. Our research, just preliminary findings, seems to indicate that as people move up to the CEO level, they have more affiliations within their sector and across sectors.